The Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds, and still it wanted more. For centuries, alien races whispered of its endless fleets, its iron rule, and its hunger for control. But one name never crossed their lips, for it was long forgotten: Earth. Humanity had disappeared from the stars centuries ago, erased in old wars, a myth lost in history. The galaxy believed they were gone. And then, one night, that belief shattered. On the distant mining moon of Cortez, alarms screamed across the outpost. Sensors picked up a ship coming out of dark space. It was not marked with any Empire codes, nor with any known trade routes. The patrol officers stared at the flickering screen, confused. The vessel was small, its design old, older than anything they had seen before. The metal hull was scarred, weathered by time, as if it had fought 1,000 battles and survived them all. No insignia, no flag, just silence. The commander of the outpost ordered a full scan. What the computers found sent shivers through every officer in the room. The readings made no sense. The ship's engines were primitive, outdated by centuries, yet its core energy was stable, steady, impossible to burn out. Its weapons showed little by galactic standards, but the density of the armor was terrifying. It was not built to fight long wars. It was built to endure. It was built to finish. Identify the species, the commander barked. His aides struggled with the data, until finally one word appeared on the screen. A word the Empire had buried. A word the galaxy had sworn was gone. Human. The room fell silent. Fear crept in, the kind that came when old stories proved true. Everyone had heard fragments of the myths. The humans were not warriors like the Thalnari, who fought for glory. They were not hunters like the Vree, who killed for sport. They were something else. Something darker. They were finishers, those who entered wars only when others were weak, and ended them with brutal, merciless precision. The Empire had thought them extinct. Clearly, it had been wrong. The commander ordered a blockade. Fighters swarmed around the old vessel, weapons armed, ready to destroy. But the ship did not fire. It did not run. It only moved slowly, deliberately, toward the outpost as if it had all the time in the universe. Then, without warning, the comm system crackled alive. A voice spoke, not harsh, not threatening, but cold and calm. "This territory belongs to the Empire. Is that correct?" The alien commander stiffened. He answered, "Yes." "Who are you? Identify your people." There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again. "We are human." The word froze the room. Some laughed nervously, thinking it a trick. But deep inside, no one believed that. The tone of the voice carried no lie. It carried history. It carried death. And when the humans spoke again, there was no arrogance, no rage, only certainty. "Stand down. You will not stop us." The commander panicked, giving the order to fire. Dozens of fighters rushed forward, plasma cannons blazing. Beams of light ripped through the darkness, striking the human ship again and again. For a moment, it vanished in the storm. And then, when the fire ended, the vessel still stood. Black smoke trailed from its hull, but it did not break. It did not fall. Slowly, it turned toward the attackers. And for the first time in generations, Imperial pilots felt true fear. The human ship fired a single shot. One. The blast was not powerful. It was not grand. But it hit with perfect precision, slicing through the lead fighter and detonating its reactor. The explosion ripped across the formation, destroying 5 more in seconds. Silence fell across the channel as the surviving pilots realized what they faced. Not a warship. Not an army. A finisher. The human voice spoke again, steady as before. "This is your warning. Leave the system. Or be finished." The commander of the outpost tried to remain calm, but his hands shook. He had heard whispers in old records. When humans made a threat, they never repeated it. They only acted. He swallowed hard, staring at the screen as the human ship moved closer. The sensors screamed that more systems were activating inside the vessel. It was not just weapons. It was something deeper. Something waiting. The officer beside him whispered in terror, "Sir, if that's truly a human, we can't win." The commander clenched his jaw. The Empire had faced rebellions, uprisings, even full wars. It had crushed them all. But this was different. This was the return of a species that never fought for glory, never fought for territory. They fought only to end things, to erase threats, to leave nothing behind. And now, for the first time in centuries, the Empire had found itself staring into the eyes of humanity again. Not warriors. Not conquerors. Finishers. And the galaxy would soon remember what that truly meant. The human ship drifted closer to the outpost, its engines humming with an ancient rhythm. It did not rush. It did not hesitate. Every move felt deliberate, like a predator circling prey. The Empire's commander on the station tried to think of a strategy. He had hundreds of soldiers on board, armored defenses, and orbital cannons. Against any normal threat, that would be enough. But nothing about this felt normal. The word human still echoed in his mind like a curse. The fighters that survived the first exchange pulled back, regrouping in a tight defensive line. Their pilots were trained killers, loyal to the Empire, but they could not stop their hands from shaking. Each one knew the stories passed down in secret, the forbidden history of the galaxy. The humans had no honor in battle. They did not waste time with glory or pride. They struck where it hurt the most. They ended wars before the enemy even realized the true fight had begun. The commander opened comms again. "This is Imperial territory. You are outnumbered. Surrender your ship now, or we will destroy you." There was silence. For a moment, he thought they might obey. But then the voice returned, calm and cutting. "Humans do not surrender." The words hit the room like a blade. The outpost officers exchanged nervous glances. That tone carried something their own kind never had, certainty, the kind that left no room for argument. Even the commander felt his chest tighten. He could not let fear control him, not here, not in front of his soldiers. So he gave the order. "All cannons, fire." The station shook as hundreds of beams lit up the dark sky. Energy bolts, missiles, and plasma fire rained down on the lone human vessel. Explosions rippled across its hull. Metal twisted. Flames burst from the impact zones. For long minutes, it seemed the old ship would finally fall. But when the smoke cleared, the vessel still remained. Scarred, but alive. And moving closer. Inside the outpost, panic spread like a virus. Officers shouted over each other, reports flooding in, but all carried the same message: ineffective. No weapon truly broke through. It was as if the ship was designed not to fight battles endlessly but to survive just long enough, to endure every storm until the perfect moment to strike. A finisher's design. Then it struck back. Not with overwhelming firepower. Not with endless barrages. It fired 3 shots. Only 3. Each one hit with absolute precision. The first tore through the station's shield generator. The second destroyed the hangar bay, ripping fighters apart before they could launch. The third punched through the main power conduit, leaving the outpost trembling, lights flickering, systems dying. In less than a minute, the Empire's mighty defenses had been silenced. The crew froze. No alarms. No shields. No safety. Just silence and the image of the human ship, drawing closer with steady intent. The commander gripped the edge of his console, rage and fear boiling inside him. This was not possible. This was not logical. The Empire was unstoppable. It had crushed empires, enslaved worlds, broken species. And yet, one ship, one ancient ship, had brought him to his knees. "Send a distress signal," he barked. "Call the fleet." But as the officer attempted, the screens flickered. The transmission lines had already been cut. Somehow, impossibly, the humans had jammed the station's entire communication grid. They were trapped. Alone. Then, the human voice returned. It was quieter this time. Almost colder. You had your chance to leave. The crew held their breath. The commander tried to reply, but his throat was dry. Deep down, he realized the truth. The humans were not testing them. They were not bargaining. They were finishing. The Empire had been warned, and warnings were never given twice. The station shook violently as explosions tore through its outer hull. Fire spread across corridors, oxygen vents screamed as they collapsed, and the artificial gravity wavered. Soldiers scrambled to defend the command deck, but one by one their systems fell apart. The humans didn't rush. They dismantled the outpost step by step, piece by piece, until resistance meant nothing. Until there was only silence. In the final moments, the commander stared at the screen. The human ship floated before them, quiet, still, almost patient. He wanted to hate them, to curse them, but another feeling gnawed deeper, dread. The galaxy had spent centuries forgetting humans, erasing them, believing them gone. But the myths were true. They had not been warriors. Warriors fought for honor. Warriors fought to win. Humans were different. They waited. They survived. And when the time came, they finished. The outpost exploded, flames ripping across the sky as metal shattered into 1,000 pieces. The shockwaves spread for kilometers, scattering debris into the void. The human ship drifted through the wreckage, untouched, like a shadow passing over a grave. It did not celebrate. It did not roar with victory. It only continued forward, deeper into Empire space. Far away, on another world, Imperial commanders received fragments of broken signals, whispers of what had happened. Most dismissed it as lies, exaggerations, or tricks from rebels. But a few of the older officers, the ones who remembered hidden files locked away in archives, knew better. They recognized the word buried in the broken transmissions. Human. And for the first time in centuries, the Empire felt something it had not known in generations. Fear. The Empire did not ignore the destruction of Outpost Cortez. Within hours, messages reached the High Command, carried on broken transmissions and terrified voices. One word kept repeating, over and over, across the damaged signals. Human. At first, the Council of Admirals dismissed it as superstition. To them, humans were a dead race, erased long ago in forgotten wars. But one by one, the reports added weight. A single old vessel had cut through defenses, destroyed a fully armed station, and left no survivors. Too precise to be rebels. Too ruthless to be pirates. The word could no longer be denied. The Empire acted fast. A battle group of 3 cruisers and 12 escorts was dispatched. Their mission was simple: locate the human vessel and erase it from existence. On board the lead cruiser, Admiral Zirin sat in his command chair, surrounded by officers who awaited his orders. He was a cold strategist, known for crushing entire colonies with little effort. To him, the idea of one ancient human ship surviving against imperial might was laughable. Myths do not fight wars, he told his officers. We will show this phantom what real power is. But deep inside, not all shared his certainty. Older crew members whispered in the corridors. They remembered forbidden files, fragments of stories smuggled from archives. Stories of how humans never entered wars first. They waited until both sides bled dry, then struck with finality, leaving no enemy standing. They were not remembered for fighting. They were remembered for ending. The fleet jumped into the system where the outpost had been. What they found turned confidence into silence. Wreckage floated across the void, twisted metal drifting like a graveyard. The remains of the outpost stretched for kilometers. There were no survivors, no signals, not even a distress beacon left intact. It was as if someone had not just destroyed the station, but erased its very existence. And through the drifting debris, one small ship moved slowly, as if waiting. The human vessel turned toward them, its scarred hull still glowing from old battles. It did not retreat. It did not hide. Instead, it moved directly into their path, alone against their entire fleet. Admiral Zirin laughed coldly. "This is what we feared? One relic? End this quickly." The escorts moved first, breaking formation and rushing toward the human ship. Dozens of weapons lit up the void, missiles and energy beams tearing through space. The human vessel endured the storm, shields flickering, armor cracking, but still it advanced. Then it fired back. Not with a barrage. Not with endless shots. Just a handful of precise strikes. Each one found its mark, cutting through weak points, detonating reactors, and ripping ships apart. In minutes, 6 escorts were gone, their wrecks spinning into the void. The bridge of the cruiser fell silent. Officers looked to Admiral Zirin, waiting for his reaction. His face twitched with anger, but he masked it with cold commands. "Close in. Overwhelm it. Numbers will break it." The remaining ships tightened formation, circling the human vessel like predators closing on prey. But something about the human ship's movement was wrong. It did not fight like a cornered enemy. It fought like something patient, something that already knew how this would end. Every shot it fired crippled systems instead of wasting energy on armor. Engines, reactors, weapon nodes, cut away piece by piece, until the escorts were left drifting, alive but broken. By the time the last escort fell silent, only the 3 cruisers remained. Admiral Zirin clenched his fists. "They are stalling us," he realized too late. The human ship powered its engines, releasing a sudden surge of energy. A hidden drive, old but powerful, activated beneath its hull. In seconds, the vessel darted forward with terrifying speed. It ignored the escorts it had crippled, ignored the wreckage, and dove directly toward the lead cruiser. "Shields at maximum," Zirin roared. But it did not matter. The human ship fired a single spear of energy, tearing straight through the cruiser's shield barrier as if it were paper. The blast ripped into the hull, detonating deep inside. Explosions rocked the vessel, fire spreading through corridors, alarms screaming across the deck. Officers panicked, shouting orders, but the human ship was already moving, lining up its next strike. One cruiser after another fell. Not all destroyed. No, the humans did not waste effort. They targeted power cores, command bridges, and communication arrays, leaving the hulks floating silent in space. The fleet, once proud and powerful, had been reduced to corpses in under an hour. The human ship, scarred and battered, drifted among them like a ghost. Admiral Zirin lay on the floor of his burning bridge, choking on smoke. Through shattered screens, he saw the human vessel hovering outside, calm, patient. His officers screamed at him to give the order to abandon ship, but he did not hear them. He could only think of one truth: this was not a war. This was not even a battle. This was execution. And humans were the executioners. The ship's voice came through the comms, calm and merciless. "Your empire believes it is endless. But every empire ends. We are the ones who finish them." The comms cut. A final blast tore through the cruiser's heart, and silence claimed the void once more. The human ship drifted away, vanishing into dark space before reinforcements could arrive. But the message had been left behind, carved into wreckage and memory. The Empire had just learned a lesson it had forgotten for centuries. Humans were not warriors. They did not fight for pride. They did not fight for conquest. They fought to end things. And now, the galaxy would remember what finishers truly were. News of the fleet's destruction spread like fire through the Empire. Admirals argued in council chambers, trying to explain the impossible. Some claimed it was sabotage. Others said it was a trick by rebels. But one word hung heavy in every room, spoken in fear and disbelief: human. The high command tried to bury the truth, but whispers always escaped. Soldiers in the barracks, traders in the markets, slaves in the mines, they all began to speak of the forgotten species that had returned. A species that had not been seen in centuries. A species that did not fight wars. A species that finished them. Far from the Empire's core, in a hidden chamber deep under an archive world, an old historian listened to the rumors. His scales trembled as he unlocked forbidden files no one dared to touch. The records told of the last time humans fought. Not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as executioners. Every conflict they entered ended in silence. Every enemy was wiped away, not with endless battles, but with precision and patience. He whispered to himself, "The Empire has awakened the finishers." His words carried fear, for he knew what would come next. The Empire was vast, but size had never saved anyone from humans. Meanwhile, the lone human vessel drifted deeper into Imperial territory. It did not hurry. It did not hide. It moved with quiet certainty, leaving wreckage behind in every system it touched. Stations fell silent. Patrols vanished. Fleets went dark. Each strike was the same, swift, precise, and final. Survivors were rare, and those who lived spoke with terror. They said the humans did not waste words, did not demand surrender. They simply acted, leaving silence where life had been. In the imperial capital, Emperor Zaltris himself demanded answers. He was a ruler who had never known fear. His empire had crushed every rival, enslaved countless species, and ruled the galaxy without challenge. But when he heard the reports, even he felt a chill. "One ship cannot threaten the Empire," he said, his voice steady but his claws trembling. "Find them. Crush them. End this myth before it spreads." He ordered the largest fleet in centuries to gather. Hundreds of ships, armed with the strongest weapons, prepared to hunt a single human vessel. Confidence returned to the Empire, but only on the surface. Deep inside, officers whispered the truth: if the myths were real, numbers would not matter. In the darkness of deep space, the human crew remained silent. No songs of war. No speeches. Only focus. They were not there to prove anything. They were there for one purpose: to finish what had been left undone long ago. Their ship, though old, carried systems no alien could understand. Every weapon fired with precision. Every move was calculated. Where others fought battles of attrition, the humans fought battles of ending. They struck once, then left nothing behind. The great Imperial fleet finally met them near the edges of the Hadron Belt, a region of broken asteroids and ancient wreckage from forgotten wars. The fleet stretched across the stars, a wall of metal and firepower. Their admiral laughed as he saw the single human ship approach. "This will not be a battle. This will be an execution." He did not realize how wrong he was. For humans never came to fight battles. They came to finish them. The Empire unleashed its full might. Hundreds of ships fired at once, a storm of energy that lit the dark sky like a false sun. Asteroids shattered. Space itself seemed to tremble. The human ship disappeared in the chaos, swallowed by fire. For a moment, the admiral celebrated. But then, through the smoke and ruin, the vessel emerged. Scarred, burning, but still alive. And moving forward. The human ship fired only a handful of shots. Each one struck perfectly. Engines collapsed. Weapons went dark. Command bridges fell silent. Massive cruisers turned into drifting corpses. The Empire tried to surround the humans, to crush them with numbers, but it did not matter. The humans did not fight like prey. They fought like the end itself. They did not waste time breaking armor. They struck at the core. They finished. The admiral of the fleet screamed orders, but one by one his ships went silent. His pride, his power, his belief in the Empire's invincibility, all shattered in less than an hour. His final words, recorded in his dying ship's logs, carried across the void. "They are not warriors. They are death. They are finishers." His ship exploded soon after, leaving nothing but silence. When the fragments of the battle reached the capital, panic spread like a wave. The Empire had lost its greatest fleet to one ancient ship. And now, no one could deny the truth. The humans had returned. They were not conquerors. They did not fight for power. They fought to end things. And the Empire, for the first time in its history, realized it might be the thing about to end. The Empire had never known fear like this. Whole fleets had been erased. Outposts that once glowed with life were now dark husks drifting in silence. A single ship had torn through the galaxy's strongest power, leaving wreckage in its path. Yet no one knew why. The humans gave no demands. They did not ask for territory. They did not ask for surrender. They only destroyed, then moved on. To the people of the Empire, this silence was worse than any threat. For an enemy with no demands is an enemy that cannot be bargained with. In the palace of Emperor Zaltris, unease spread like a disease. Advisors begged him to open negotiations. Some whispered that the humans might be reasoned with if given tribute. But the Emperor refused. His pride was too great. The Empire bows to no ghost from history, he declared. If they are truly human, then they will bleed like all others. His words were strong, but his eyes betrayed doubt. For the first time in centuries, he feared something beyond his control. Across the galaxy, common citizens began to whisper in hope instead of fear. Slaves chained in the mines spoke the word human with trembling joy. Traders on the edge of space told stories of the finishers who never left their work undone. For countless species crushed under the Empire's rule, the humans were not monsters. They were salvation. Rumors spread that every time a human ship destroyed an outpost, prisoners were freed and sent away unharmed. The humans did not kill the innocent. They only ended the oppressors. And with each new act, more voices began to hope. Perhaps the end of the Empire had finally come. Meanwhile, deep in space, the human vessel continued its path. Its crew did not speak of glory or vengeance. They worked in silence, eyes cold, hands steady. Each battle was not a fight. It was a task. Each strike was not rage, it was purpose. They were not trying to prove humanity's strength. They were doing what their kind had always done. Finishing what others had started and could not end. The Empire tried new tactics. They sent assassin ships armed with stealth drives. They sent entire worlds filled with traps, mines, and hidden fleets. Each time, the humans walked through them like shadows. Stealth was useless against them. Traps failed before they closed. Fleets broke apart with terrifying speed. The humans always struck the weak point, always ended the fight before it could truly begin. It was as if they could see the ending before anyone else. On the planet Vera, a grand military fortress, the Empire prepared its strongest defense yet. It was said no invader had ever broken its walls. 10,000 soldiers stood ready, cannons lined the sky, and shield generators wrapped the city in glowing armor. The humans arrived without hesitation. Their single ship entered orbit, and the battle began. The fortress unleashed every weapon, filling the heavens with fire. The ground shook, the air burned, but the humans endured. Their ship bled smoke, but it did not fall. Then came the finishing strike. The human vessel did not attack the walls. It did not waste time on cannons. It targeted 3 precise points: the power grid, the shield relay, and the command tower. Each shot was surgical. In less than an hour, the fortress that had stood for centuries lay silent. Its soldiers dropped their weapons, their leaders dead, their defenses gone. And from the smoke, prisoners walked free, staring at the sky in disbelief. The humans had ended another symbol of imperial power. The whispers grew louder. Across the galaxy, voices repeated the same words: they are not warriors. They are finishers. In the Emperor's palace, rage consumed Zaltris. He could not understand why his empire, vast and unbroken, was falling apart before a single enemy. He slammed his claws against the table. Why do they not speak? Why do they not demand? His advisors trembled, unsure how to answer. One finally dared to whisper, "Because, Majesty, they do not come to rule. They come to end." The Emperor silenced him with a glare. But deep in his mind, the truth echoed. If the humans had returned, then the Empire's time was running out. And still, the human vessel moved forward, closer to the heart of imperial space. Each system it crossed was left broken, Each fleet left drifting, each fortress left silent. The galaxy watched with wide eyes, realizing something terrifying. This was not a war. This was not a rebellion. This was the end of an empire. The closer the humans came to the Imperial core, the greater the fear spread. Systems that once cheered the Empire's name now spoke it in whispers. Soldiers marched with pride on the outside, but inside they trembled. The myths were no longer myths. The finishers had returned, and they were moving straight toward the capital. On the command decks of Imperial fleets, officers debated in panic. Some wanted to surrender their ships without a fight, others demanded to launch suicide runs. But all knew the same truth. None of it mattered. Every battle ended the same way. The humans struck once, and everything ended. The Emperor gathered his last council in the Great War Chamber. Holograms of shattered fleets glowed across the room. Outposts, fortresses, and armadas, all reduced to ruins by one ship. His generals argued until their voices cracked. "We must trap them in the core," shouted one. "We must send every weapon at once," cried another. But the oldest among them shook his head. "You cannot stop them. Humans do not fight wars. They end them." The Emperor silenced them with rage. His pride would not allow retreat. If they want to reach the capital, they will find it defended. Prepare the Eternal Guard. Ready the Titan-class dreadnoughts. If humanity comes, they will die at the gates of my throne. Across the galaxy, enslaved peoples and oppressed worlds waited. Many prayed for the humans to come. For generations they had lived under chains, believing the Empire was eternal. But now, with every destroyed fleet and fallen fortress, hope grew stronger. To them, the humans were not executioners. They were liberators. The finishers of tyranny. Meanwhile, the lone human ship drifted through space, silent as ever. Its hull carried scars from countless battles, yet it never slowed. Inside, the crew worked with the same cold patience. They did not speak of glory or vengeance. They spoke only of the mission. Every strike, every ending, was just one step closer. They were not racing. They were finishing. The Empire launched its last great weapon before the capital, the Titan dreadnought fleet. 50 ships larger than mountains, each armed with enough firepower to burn entire planets. They formed a wall across the stars, waiting for the human vessel. Confidence returned to the Empire's leaders. "Nothing can stand against the Titans," the Emperor declared. Not even a myth. The battle began in silence. The Titans opened fire together, unleashing storms of energy that blazed brighter than suns. The void itself shook under their fury. The human ship was swallowed in the fire. For a moment, the Empire believed. The admirals smiled. The Emperor rose from his throne. The myth was over. But then, as the fire dimmed, the human vessel appeared again. Broken, burning, but alive. Slowly, it turned toward the Titans. And then it moved. Not recklessly. Not in desperation. With calm, calculated precision. It darted between the massive ships, weaving through their fire, every movement exact. The Titans fired again and again, but the humans always slipped through. Then the finishing strikes came. Not against armor. Not against shields. Each shot targeted the same weak point, the heart of the dreadnoughts, their reactor cores. One by one, the Titans ignited from within, exploding in silence, their destruction lighting the dark sky. 50 giants had been built to last forever. In less than an hour, half were gone. The others were crippled, floating like broken statues. The Empire's greatest weapon had failed. The Emperor watched in horror as reports filled his palace. He could no longer hide from the truth. This was not war. This was not rebellion. This was the end. The humans spoke across the void once more, their voice carried into every surviving Titan, every Imperial channel. It was calm, steady, and merciless. Your empire believed it was eternal. But nothing lasts forever. Humans do not fight wars. Humans finish them. And now, We are here to finish you. The message spread across the galaxy in moments. Worlds under the Empire's chains heard the words and began to rise. Soldiers deserted. Captains abandoned their posts. Fear broke the backbone of Imperial rule. And still, the lone human ship advanced, straight toward the Imperial capital. For the first time in history, the Empire no longer looked unstoppable. It looked finished. The Imperial capital had never known silence. For centuries, its skies were filled with the roar of engines, its streets with the cries of soldiers, and its throne with the voice of a ruler who believed himself eternal. But as the lone human vessel crossed into the system, silence fell. The fleets that should have stood in defense were gone, shattered wrecks drifting in the void. The proud Titan dreadnoughts that had guarded the gates of the core were now dark, broken husks. And the Emperor, once certain of his immortality, sat on his throne with trembling hands. The human ship entered orbit like a shadow. It did not rush. It did not boast. It simply hovered above the capital world, patient and still. Billions of citizens looked to the skies and saw it, a scarred relic from a forgotten age. To the oppressed, it was hope. To the loyal, it was doom. To the Emperor, it was the end of everything he had built. The palace shook as alarms screamed across the planet. Soldiers scrambled into position, cannons turned upward, fighters launched into the skies. But none of it mattered. The Empire had seen this before, in system after system, fortress after fortress, fleet after fleet. Weapons would fire, walls would fall, and silence would follow. And the humans would finish what they had come to end. The Emperor addressed his people for the last time. His voice echoed across the capital through trembling lips. Citizens of the Empire, do not fear. We are strong. We are eternal. No relic of the past can break us. But even as he spoke, his voice wavered. Everyone could hear it. The eternal Emperor was afraid. Then the skies lit with fire. Fighters swarmed toward the human vessel, thousands of them filling the void. They fired endlessly, turning the heavens into storms of energy. For a moment, the capital believed. For a moment, they thought numbers might finally win. But then the truth revealed itself again. The human ship endured. It weaved through the storm, armor breaking, hull burning, but never falling. And with every shot it returned, another fighter was erased. Squadrons collapsed, wings broke apart, and soon the endless swarm became scattered fragments drifting lifeless in space. The palace cannons opened fire next, massive beams cutting the skies. The human vessel took the hits, shook under the power, but then returned 3 precise shots. Each one hit a command relay. Each one silenced a cannon. And in minutes, the weapons that had guarded the Emperor for centuries were nothing but smoking ruins. The humans spoke again, their voice carried across every channel in the system. Calm, steady, merciless. We warned you. We gave you chances to leave. You chose to stay. Now your empire is finished. The Emperor roared in desperation, his pride breaking at last. Why? Why do you do this? What do you want? His voice echoed in the throne room, filled with fear. For the first time, the humans answered him directly. We want nothing. We came for nothing. But when we see oppression, we end it. When we see empires that think themselves eternal, we finish them. This is who we are. The words cut through the capital like a blade. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Citizens cried out in awe and fear. Slaves rose in rebellion, chains breaking as they realized the empire was crumbling before their eyes. The emperor collapsed into his throne, his empire slipping from his grasp. He had ruled for centuries, but in a single moment, humanity had ended him. The human vessel moved once more, its final strike beginning. It did not target the city. It did not kill innocents. It aimed only for the palace, the heart of the empire's rule. With surgical precision, it fired. The blast tore through the great throne tower, ripping it apart in fire and stone. The emperor's palace crumbled, and with it, the symbol of his eternal rule. Billions watched in silence as the smoke cleared. The capital still stood, but the empire was gone. Its fleets destroyed, its leaders dead, its throne in ruins. The myth of immortality had ended in a single night. And then the human ship did what no one expected. It did not conquer. It did not land. It simply turned away. The citizens watched as it drifted into the void, leaving the capital behind. There were no banners, no rulers, no new laws. The humans had not come to rule. They had come to finish. In the days that followed, the galaxy shook with change. Oppressed worlds rose in freedom. The empire crumbled, its chains broken forever. Everywhere, the same story spread. The finishers had returned. Not to fight wars. Not to claim glory. But to end what should never have begun. And though the human ship vanished into dark space once more, its shadow remained. Every world, every species, every survivor whispered the same truth. Humans were not warriors. They were not conquerors. They were finishers. And now, at last, the empire knew what that meant.